Tesla has managed to design, test, and now begin mass producing the new Model 3 Highland at their Gigafactory in Shanghai. On August 17th, a Bloomberg piece laid out claims from an anonymous source that Tesla plans to begin mass production of the revamped Model 3 sedan at Giga Shanghai and have them appear in showrooms there by the end of this month. This news comes only about 2 weeks after an August 4th report that Giga Shanghai had shut down parts of its Model 3 and Model Y lines to accommodate the switch to the new Highland production. And that brings us to August 19th, when observers were able to catch these images of a growing fleet of covered vehicles in the Giga Shanghai parking lot, despite the increased security measures against the use of drones on site. Given that we know the company's plans for unveiling the refreshed Model 3 later this month, or within the next 60 days by some estimates, it seems impossible that these covered vehicles aren't the first batch of customer-ready Highlands. The Project Highland refresh was one of the more anticipated design campaigns in the Tesla community for a good chunk of late 2022, just before the company started really testing and hyping the release of the Cybertruck. The past 2 years or so had seen the company make great use of technology like the GigaPress casting machines to reduce a lot of parts complexity for the Model Y. Tesla wanted to do the same with the Model 3. From the first bit of information we got, it seemed that Tesla's sedan would also be getting an updated interior with a new infotainment display, a new steering wheel, new seats, and a new dash. Some newer leaks of the design have included details like a new 18-inch wheel, but we are still lacking a full view of the completed Model 3 Highland. Cybertruck is the easiest answer to that, of course. There's been so many eyes on Giga Texas that it's hard to imagine the community chasing down sightings of a redesign being conducted overseas. But it's that part that sticks out as a better reason for us all not noticing how close the Highland was to being finished. Sure, there were prototypes driving around California for a bit, but most of the big work was being done in Shanghai, where there's less support for observers, and it's less practical to look up permits or shipping manifests like many Tesla fans do in the US. And with Tesla's North American facilities all quite busy at the moment, it likely made more sense to conduct the last phase of this project in Shanghai, where the completed Model 3 could then be shipped out to other locations. There has been no official word as to the exact date of the unveiling event, but we expect that once there has been an announcement, we'll also be getting a full list of all the updated details on the new Model 3, be it videos of sightings in the wild or leaked photos of prototypes in pre-production. In fact, there was so much of this information out there that it was easy to think that Tesla was perfectly fine with all these leaks, but as it turns out, that's not the case. This is the new Tesla security escort for the Cybertruck. These two trucks were spotted by a drone operator in Austin, Texas, as they got charged up at the company facility. The Model Y driving security team is just the most visible of the new security measures intended to keep employees and contractors from sneaking images of the vehicle and leaking them to the public. On August 18th, a company memo was distributed to employees stating that anyone found taking photos or videos on site would be immediately escorted off-site by security and will be investigated by the company's HR department. And looking at the last couple months of leaks, we have to wonder what took them so long to do this. Setting aside opportunistic photographers and drone operators who Tesla could not hope to stop, there have been so many leaks coming from inside company facilities that it almost seemed like a deliberate tactic by Tesla to drum up hype organically before the big delivery event. Tires from an all-terrain test, frames and casts from inside the factory. We even saw up-close pictures of a Cybertruck suspension from a vehicle that was simply left by the side of the road last week. You can see why Tesla had to do something. It's not clear just how tight this security is going to be with non-employees, but it definitely seems like the point is to close off a lot of these avenues to the general public, especially since it seems things are escalating as the delivery event date gets closer. It does seem a little rude to the new security team to discuss leaked photos immediately after we sympathized with them, but this stuff is too interesting to pass up, especially if these might be the last we'll be seeing for a bit. We happen to get two very different shots of Cybertrucks being moved around. The first are a couple of units that have quite obviously been prepped for use in crash testing. The vehicles were spotted on a flatbed trailer heading north on the I-55 in Missouri, which is the route this hauler would have to take in order to bring the vehicles to the crash testing facility in Ohio, which is run by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. We know that the Cybertruck is in the process of getting certified in several countries, the US included, so it seems these vehicles are destined to be investigated and measured by the NHTSA before being declared safe for the road. But these trucks found in Hayward, California, have apparently already been crashed. Tesla maintains their own crash test facility in their Fremont plant, along with other independent crash test labs in the area, so that's likely where these came from. This is also the first time anyone has caught so much as a glimpse of a crash-tested Cybertruck. We can't see much under those tarps, but it looks like they've held up pretty well. Speaking of Fremont, a bunch of Cybertrucks were spotted being moved there on August 17th, which is odd. 9 Cybertrucks is a little too many for them all to be used in crash testing, and these models look too polished for use as crash testers. There hasn't been any permits for a large event at the facility either, like they've needed to have in the past. Besides, the delivery event will almost certainly take place at Giga Texas, where the trucks are made. So what's going on at Fremont? Some people have suggested that these trucks are destined for showrooms in the California Tesla location, which is a pretty good thought. But more importantly, all of these events paint a pretty clear picture. The increased security, the movement of showroom quality models, and the crash testing all tell us that Tesla is getting quite close to having a date for their delivery event, and they don't want it spoiled. Fair enough, Tesla, but we're still going to try and get shots of the Cybertruck until then. In a vote on August 16th, Texas regulatory officials said that enough large companies had opted in to using Tesla's charging tech that NACS-compliant connectors would be required in order to qualify for any federal funding. This vote had originally been deferred from July 11th, as the original Texas mandate on NACS inclusion for chargers to receive government funding had been opposed by a group of EV and charging companies who said that they were worried that NACS adoption was happening too quickly. Now, it's pretty clear that the NACS is more efficient than the current standard, the CCS charger. However, for a government to accept a new standard these days, there has to be a lot of bureaucratic hoops to jump through. But while the Texas government did take over a month to discuss the merits of pushing ahead with adoption of the NACS, when the time to vote came around again, it was pretty clear what had to be done. And Director Gonzalez of Texas's Department of Transportation explained why by saying, the two-connector approach being proposed will help assure coverage of a minimum of 97% of the current over 168,000 electric vehicles with fast charging ports in the state. News of the Texas government finally allowing this process to continue comes just days after the announcement by both Honda and Acura that they were preparing to adopt the NACS along with companies like Ford and GM. And just 2 weeks ago, Volex, a major UK-based connector manufacturing company, held a press conference announcing that they had been contracted by Tesla to begin producing their charger hardware. There's just no way Tesla could support the manufacturing needed to equip everyone. Texas is a huge deal, one of the largest, most wealthy states in the union. Agreeing to start the standardization process for the NACS is bound to get other states to follow suit, just like when Ford's adoption of the charger led to other automakers and charging companies to do the same. This part of the process might take longer, but it's a small price to pay for finally beating the CCS.